Hello there, APE students. This is a quick video to show you how to engage with the AP review on our Sophie Connect platform. And as I mentioned in my announcement, this is a particularly important process for you. Even if you're not taking the AP exam, I am putting together a mock exam that is going to, contribute towards your grades somewhat significantly. It's not super incredibly high stakes. I'm not going to let anyone crash and burn on it, and it will be curved. So I don't want you to stress, but I do want you to prepare. I hope that that lands in a reasonable space and that you know me well enough through the online platform and through the way I run the course to know that, I'm earnest when I say that I'm here to support you. That said, definitely you'll want to do this to prepare for that. Supposing that you will take the AP exam, which I would assume that most, if not all of you, are planning on doing. This will be a really important process for reviewing for that. And, this subject is really important. And I hope I've made that case to you this year. Environmental science and an understanding of Earth systems is pretty crucial to living in the world that exists before us. So this process will also help you with just synthesizing all the material from the year. Okay, so with that pitch, let me jump into the practical here and show you what you need to do. You're going to see this tab appear shortly. It's still hidden as I'm recording this video, but over on the left-hand side here is an AP review tab. It'll pop up. For you all, it'll be beneath Unit 8, and then when Unit 9 appears in a few weeks, it'll be beneath Unit 9. If you click on that tab, you end up opening up this 3-part AP review post summary. And this video will be posted at the top of it. So you're probably watching it in this tab, I hope. Notice that I'm not really doing these as weeks. I did that last year and people got too time crunched. So what I'm doing is just saying, hey, it's March 28th and it's available. And I'd like you to definitely finish part 1 by April 7th, which gives you like almost 2 full weeks. And this part is just like 6 posts that are probably a paragraph or 2 each. So it's really not that bad considering I'm asking you to review the whole year and prepare for an AP exam in an AP class, right? It's still a fairly light workload, I would suggest and argue. If you can get to that soon, then maybe you'll get some momentum and you'll start like crashing through these and you'll end up into part 2 by the end of this week, like before April even starts. Great. You could also wait until after April 7th, but then you'll have just a week to do these. So I'm not really saying do them week by week necessarily, though you could definitely pace yourself that way. If you know you might fall behind, try to get ahead. If you have time, definitely get ahead. If you're, really crunched right now and you'll have time in, the 2nd week of April because that's your school spring break in person, cool. Maybe save a lot of it for them. It's all good by me. These are to try to scaffold for you. Definitely, you should have everything done by April 21st. Now, what should you do? Okay, I'm going to click Review Post Part 1. You'll notice that I've got some info down here for you. Basically, we're doing a unit at a time review. So the Unit 1 review discussion corresponds to the Unit 1 material that we did back in September. I want you to look at the course and exam description and the unit guide and any other stuff that you might want to look at, the daily videos that are on the AP Classroom, which are great for topics that might be still not super confident for you. Also, of course, my materials, although I assume you've gone through all of those. If you need to look back at them, look back at your class notes, that kind of thing, you can certainly do that. Now, to guide your review of those materials, you might open up the Unit 1 discussion, for example, and go to the first thread, okay? And I don't want anyone adding a new thread. I want you to reply to my thread. Some of the threads are going to have fairly specific questions. Some of them are going to be pretty open-ended. This is an example of an open-ended one, which might be trickier, so it's a good one for me to show you. So I've got here, please reference these topics. And again, the course and exam description and the unit guide are going to help you to know what those topics are. So let's say you're like, I don't know what topic 1.1 through 1.3 are. How do I deal with that? Well, over here is the CED in the same tab as the course syllabus. That's the course and exam description from the College Board. So I could click there. I could go to the course and exam description. I believe the topics start right around page 40. So scroll forward to around page 40 in the PDF, scroll down, and here's topic 1.1, Introduction to Ecosystems. Now also, if I go to Unit 1 here, I can scroll down to the outline and see that, yeah, here's topic 1.1. And this prompt here corresponds to, if I scroll back here, corresponds to the learning objective that is listed underneath this particular topic. This is the thing you're supposed to be able to do for topic 1.1 to be prepared for the AP exam. This is also just my attempt to like lift back the hood on like what this course is doing from an AP perspective. I do extra stuff too that I think you'll find interesting, right? But this is like practical prep for an AP exam. So we're talking about what does the College Board want you to be able to do? And they are literally telling you, we want you to be able to explain how the availability of resources influences species interactions. And if you're like, what should I be able to say? Very conveniently, here it is. Now, many of you, I think, know about this document because you've been using it to study for unit tests, and I tried to make you aware of it throughout the year. If you're just seeing this for the first time, welcome, and it's very useful. So, you might then kind of start to draft a paragraph where you say, okay, one principle that governs ecosystems is that the availability of resources influences how species interact. And so you might have species doing predation or herbivory, eating other organisms. You might have symbiotic interactions where both organisms survive. And those include mutualism, where both benefit, commensalism, where one benefits and the other gets a neutral outcome, or parasitism, where one benefits and the other one is detrimentally affected. And, that said, they both remain alive if the parasite's any good at what it does. Finally, the other non-symbiotic interaction, in addition to predation/herbivory, is competition, and that's a negative for both. Thus, given that resources are limited and having to compete for them is a waste of energy, if you can avoid it, that's better no matter what, even if you would be the winner. And so resource partitioning tends to be favored, where using resources slightly differently at different times, in different, slightly different ways, maybe living in slightly different habitats within a tree, for example, can allow for reduced competition to the benefit of both species. So I draft up a quick paragraph on that. Boom. You can see that's basically, I'm summarizing the essential knowledge. I'm using some background I gained in the course. If I have to look back in my notes at some ecosystem stuff from Unit 1, hopefully I can do that. Or I can browse around the Unit 1, course tab just to refresh my memory on what's there. Okay, I do the same thing for 1.2, terrestrial biomes. Okay, these are how the abiotic factors come together, especially for terrestrial biomes. It's about precipitation and temperature. Here are some examples of major ones. The tropical rainforests are like really dependent on latitude. They get a lot of rain at the equator, blah, blah, blah. So I write up a second little paragraph on that, and then maybe a third little paragraph on aquatic biomes. And okay, well, they're dependent on salinity and water temperature and depth and then sunlight exposure and so forth. And there's freshwater versus saltwater, which is a huge distinction. There's also brackish water. Wetlands are a big deal. We've heard about them throughout the course. Maybe you make some forward connections there. So you draft up your 3 kind of quick paragraphs on those. And going back over to the discussion, you post a reply to my thread that is just your summary. Okay. You do the same thing. If I go back over to AP Review here, you do the same thing for each of the 3 threads, okay? Note that the other thing I'm asking you to do is to please try to interact with each other as much as you can. So for the Unit 1 review discussion, I encourage you very strongly to reply to at least one other person's post. It doesn't have to be, you don't need to fake it, but it doesn't have to be like a big, giant, lengthy reply unless you want to add something. It could just be hey, this thing that you pointed out is helpful to me. I forgot to put that in my post, thanks. Or it could be like, oh, this thing that you noted there ties into a thing that I posted here, and that's a cool connection. Something like that would be most welcome. The thought is that by reading each other's posts, you get to benefit from what everyone has taken away collectively, and we build basically an incredible review guide in the discussion forum, where we're leaving no stone unturned. And essentially, you're ready to take a mock AP exam and an actual AP exam on the course based on what's in these discussions, if you just kind of engage with them, read them, and pace yourself. So I hope this is helpful to you. If you have any questions as you go, just reach out by email. If you fall behind on the discussions a little bit, I am going to be pestering you all a little bit, because these are like easy points unless you don't do them. And then it's like a category of your grade that you'll have like no points in, and it will be such a big difference for your semester grade if you just do these versus don't. If you feel like it's tedious or a lot of work, you're a second semester senior, you just want to be done. I do get it. My students in person right now are definitely struggling to get to the finish line. Also, it's an AP course. It is somewhat rigorous. That's kind of part of what you signed up for. So not to say I told you so or something, but I'm trying to make this as engaging, as reasonable and ask as possible. So I encourage you to think of it as like, this is actually a fairly minimal thing to ask you to do. Like I could be giving you review tests or something every week, and that would be a lot more high stakes and brutal. So this hopefully gives you time to sit and actually engage with the material and think it through. The only thing it requires of you is a little bit of time. I would say if you devote, like you do one of these threads a day, you can see there are 3 threads in the Unit 1 discussion, and that's pretty standard. If we check out the Unit 2 discussion, there are 2, right? The final review discussion in week 3, or in part 3 rather, only has actually 1, right? And you'll notice that I've left units 8 and 9 off of here because they'll be so recent. I will also post one final discussion where I'll ask you to actually tie kind of everything together from the course as best you can. We'll call that the final review discussion. So that'll come up at the very end of the review process. And in this, you're going to address a series of issues from the second semester of the course, or really from like the human impact part of the course, running from the late first semester through the end, and just addressing for each one of these, one environmental issue that falls under that topic, like what is an issue that goes hand in hand with urbanization, and one solution that you take away from this course that you think humans should consider implementing on a wider scale to address that crisis, that issue. So I hope that gives you a kind of a good finish to the course where, again, we're not just prepping for the AP, though that's useful. You're also actually learning something here that is beneficial to the world and beneficial to our collective future in the spirit of Goal 3, indeed. So again, I hope this is helpful. I don't want to ramble on too long. I probably already have. The discussions, just don't fall behind. Keep moving on them. Keep posting stuff. They shouldn't be too hard given the resources that you have. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate your efforts. The finish line is in sight. You are almost there. Keep going.